Welcome to the first in a series of webinars that Almon will conduct as we celebrate our 40th year in business. We appreciate your attendance. My name is Tim Theisen, and I will serve as the moderator today of the program. The intent of this particular webinar is to address additional benefits that can be accomplished during the creation of various types of technical documents. The purpose of the presentation is twofold. We want to show the greater benefits to the creation of technical manuals, but more importantly, we'd like to get some feedback on this issue to see if topics like these have relevance in the marketplace. There will be time at the end of this relatively short presentation for questions and feedback. You're encouraged to submit questions as this presentation takes place. And at the end of this presentation, shortly thereafter, the entire webinar will be posted on almoninc.com, so you can refer back to it or pass it along to other associates in your organization. With that as a short backdrop, I'd like to begin the webinar. So please welcome Client Solutions Manager of Almon, Cliff Anderson, and Cliff will take you through the subject. Cliff?
All right. Good morning, everybody, for our folks on the West Coast, and good afternoon, everybody, for at least this side of the Mississippi. I'm Cliff Anderson, and as Tim said, I'm the Client Solution Manager with Almon. Today, I'm here in the TDC shop, the Technical Development Center in Milan, Illinois. It's one of our 5 locations in the Midwest. And our discussion here today regarding publication development and capturing technical documentation. So what we're hoping to do here is give you some tips, tricks, and strategies for getting the best bang for your buck when developing your tech pubs. Now, when you have your machine assets set for teardown procedures, there's a few things that we might want to consider doing in tandem while you have the equipment available. Just for your knowledge, there's a Q&A on there. If you have questions, you can type those into the segment, and at the end of our webinar today, we'll try to address some of those for you. So, kind of getting started here. The first thing we want to kind of talk about is the common pubs. And the common pubs that we're going to talk about are the kind of the main 3. First of all, the operator's manual, which is, covering your basic controls, your safety, startup, normal operation. And then second one is the service repair manual, which is where the removal, the installation, the disassembly and reassemble and repair specs for your product. And lastly, the third common one is your diagnostic manual, which you can cover your troubleshooting, diagnostic trouble codes, controller parameters, and other common failures with your machines. But what we're hoping to do is to talk about some of the things that you should be capturing and not forget about these other publications. And it's a great opportunity to capture this. And one of the things we'll talk about is whole goods and attachments. So all of the stuff that you're selling on the marketplace to support that machine as likely to help promote that and install that either at the dealership or at the customer level. This is a great opportunity, and this is one that often gets missed, and sometimes your whole goods may be sold on the market. This is a great time to showcase what you have. It might be the first time one of your clients is seeing that if they're from another brand. Another one, service bulletins. So being able to look at your product improvement programs, supplier and warranty changes, look at those opportunities for that and capturing that while the machines are on site. Another one, spare parts catalogs. So this is those common worn parts, and taking pictures of those for pre-season information if it's a bulk buy program or otherwise. It's nice to have those. So if we look at agriculture equipment and stuff we move into the harvest, those are great opportunities to capture some of those and send out in wear parts catalogs. Reference guides. So we call them QRGs or quick reference guides. some of your equipment today is a little more complex. And so looking at creating a nice visual of a startup of that machine, of like say the operator controls, and it's those things can be very, very useful. And while you're capturing the operator's manual, make some of those things. It works good on the sales side and helping market it, the usability of your machines. One of the other ones we want to touch on is your setup and your pre-delivery. This is one real important. So as the dealers receive these, and they're going to do the uncrating, the assembly, and also look at what's required for customer run-in, and doing the fluid checks and the calibration and setting that machine up prior to delivering to your client. Those things are really, really important, and to shorten that lead time. And this is especially important for any folks that have dealerships that may be multi-brand. If you've got a good solid setup PDI and good publications to support that, chances are they might try to push that sale a little bit more on your product. So with all that being said, what we're going to talk about is the challenge of machine availability and capturing publications. So most of us know this is a struggle. Where's it at? When's it going to be available? And lastly, once it gets here, how long do you think we can keep it? Now, chances are it's going to be a short window of opportunity because that machine's utilized for other opportunities. Now, the solution to that challenge is communication and planning. So I know that's easy to say, but it's really important. And somebody will probably saying, yeah, thanks, Captain Obvious, for the communication and planning. We know that's part of it. But as part of this, what we want to do is give you a couple ideas. So the first one is having a good schedule and planning guide for that. Internally, what we do is we put a list with the machine that allows all the folks that are going to be working on that some visibility, and here's what's going to be done, here's what's done, who worked on it, and this really, really is useful and key, and require maybe eliminate or at least reduce some of the redundancy. So for instance, if we see on here that somebody's already removed a hydraulic pump, I can see who's done that, and maybe I need those for another project I'm working on. I can go to that author and I can say, hey, I see you already done that. You wouldn't happen to have pictures of that already, and be able to capture some of that information and repurpose it. So the other thing is identifying some overlaps. Okay, so from an overlap standpoint is identify those items that I can get more than one team on. So let's say we're doing an operator's manual and a service manual. I can have somebody working, capturing those cabin controls and basic operation, creature comforts of that sort. And I can have somebody working externally safely, capturing, the disassembly and repair of other areas of the machine. It's tough to do. It's probably one of the biggest challenges is that overlap. And again, that short period of time before somebody else needs to take that machine. All right, so another topic we want to touch on is service timing. This is really a big one, and a lot of our clients utilize this, and being able to capture service times for warranty, and also what we may call flat rate timing. And consider the big ticket wear items that you see in the shop. So while they're removing that pump or that other assembly, capture those times. And what you wanted to capture is the kind of using that 80-20 rule. And it's the 20% of those jobs that make up 80% of the repairs of your product. And again, you're already doing the work, so just adding somebody doing some timing is really beneficial to you. Moving forward from that same idea is looking at going into what we call retail service times. And this is the time that you're going to have give to your client, or that your client is going to give to the technician, or excuse me, the client is going to give to your customer as they come into shop. So when they come in and say, how long is it going to take to fix this machine? You're going to give them that time. And so this is the inflated time, or the retail time. that you can utilize. Now, this is a great place to bring in what we call crowdsourcing. And somebody's like, well, what do we mean by crowdsourcing? So what we're looking at is utilizing your dealerships and their work orders to help you establish those times. So if you see a bunch of dealers do that repeatedly in their shop and they all require about 10 hours, that's the time you can kind of publish out. And you can push that out to all your dealerships so that you're sending out the same message. So from a consistency standpoint, if I go into this dealership in Illinois or your dealership in Wisconsin, I'm getting the same information, and it's really valuable, and the dealers love it because they've provided that information, so there's automatically a buy-in. All right, this next topic, training. This is near and dear to me. Training and publications aren't always in the same departments. However, we kind of got a lot of the same needs. And so trying to break down those silos and bring folks to the training table with your publications is really valuable. So if we look at bringing in your product support, so bring in that field staff. They can help you shed some light on what maybe they're seeing in the field. Out on the road and give you some ideas on what to cover, not only in your publications, but also for their training. Another area is service maintenance. So just the day-to-day stuff of keeping that machine up and going and capturing some of those maintenance areas that's could be sometimes tough to see in an operator's manual or with all the shields in place. This is a great time to just shoot some video and show some adjustments and calibrations required for that machine. And another one, training aid development. Okay, so if you've got some of those components for the teardown or disassembly, chances are you can't reuse those. Tag those or earmark those for training. They're extremely useful and valuable in instructor-led training. And again, trying to utilize those same products, across the board in different departments. Another one, okay, this is really valuable, new employee training. So take the opportunity to get your staff to come in while the machine's in publications for a couple different things. Get to see what's underneath the hood of that. Sometimes they might see it on the factory floor as it's moving through the build, or in a marketing standpoint. But this is a good time to see the nuts and bolts of your machine and get some familiarity. And what's valuable there is not only are they getting to see the machine, but you can kind of give them a little glimpse into what goes into developing your technical publications. Some folks may think that it's just magic and osmosis that these things take place, but some visibility there is really key. And you never know, there's a chance that that person may move on to marketing or something, and you can be their friend and they can maybe get you a machine and help you out with your publications when you need it. So just a thought. One other thing we talk about is from training development side is just the machine setup and adjustment and what they're going to do to train in a clinic environment at the dealership. And also, we talked about common warranty items in that 80-20 rule, capturing all those attachments and the whole good bundles, to support your machines for your customers and also in the aftermarket. And likewise, really popular to help with that trainer preparation, bringing in your trainers or your field staff that are going to train on this in different capacities to get around the machine and help out. Same with the employee training. Very valuable time. And I know that may be limited, but just a couple ideas to think about. Last, and certainly not least, is your graphics and your visual media. Capture pictures. I mean, the digital age has been really advantageous to us. It doesn't take much to, snap a few thousand pictures in a short period of time. But one of the things we want to talk about is, certain things to maybe consider. So get pictures of those connectors while you're doing your service manuals. Maybe you're thinking later down the road of doing some interactive schematics or some component ID, some locations of where those are at from your product support staff. take a picture of what it looks like close up, and take a picture at a distance to show its location. And these types of assets are extremely valuable. And then at this point, you can use them in your interactive schematics, or you can use them in your training material. There's lots of great opportunities not to be missed here. And more importantly, make sure that when you're going to capture those, that you have good marketing quality videos. And so one of the things we want to look at is that the capability to have good color with all the background cut out, and then repurpose those ideas here. Move it into a black and white photo for training, showing component location, like on this one here, not only of the hydraulic portion, but also the solenoid version on the electrical side. Be able to use it in your service parts literature to help promote those pre-season parts offerings that we talked about from Wear Parts. And also, obviously, what we're talking about is publication development. So not only the big three, but looking at how I can support all those other efforts, and how we can combine and merge departments and look at some cost sharing, while we have those assets. So that's kind of our big speech today. What we're going to do is we're going to go back to Waukesha, and we're going to take a look at some Q&A and a little follow up here, and we'll go from there. So back to Waukesha. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Cliff. Good job. So as a quick review of what we just went through a little bit, I'd like to add my own thoughts here. When you're in the process of creating technical publications, try to think beyond the obvious, because you can create training, you can create warranty, you can create wear parts catalogs, and you can save time and ultimately cost. Talk to the other departments within your organization to see if you can address and combine requirements. This topic was picked by Almon because we have our experience of working with over 40 manufacturers similar to yourselves, and these are some common things that always come up. With that as the precursor here, we're going to look at some questions that were submitted, and I'm going to run those past Cliff. We're 17 minutes into the program. We don't want to keep you too much longer, but let's talk about some questions. Cliff, the first one I have here is, do most of Almon's clients address these multiple benefits when they create manuals?
That's a great question. Not all of them, but certainly there's a lot of overlap. One of the biggest ones is the service timing that happens in conjunction. That's extremely common now. But getting the other departments from the product support to talk to each other is valuable, and we see them do several things, but not all of them. But depends again on your situation, and more importantly, how long do you get to keep the equipment? Good question.
Along those same lines, here's another question. Can you develop these other document types without actually having the hardware? Can you do it from CAD, from engineering?
Oh, that's a great question. You can put me on the spot here. So the short answer is yes. Yes, we can. We work in CAD a lot, and it's very valuable. In fact, we've developed some publications solely with CAD. Typically, those are machines that are less complex and maybe not self-propelled. But yeah, we can do that. Now, if you've got both the CAD and the machine, you put those two together and it's invaluable. Great question.
Okay. Cliff, I got a note here. You mentioned the 80-20 rule. Do most of your clients think about that going in, or is that kind of unique?
I think that's something that we've kind of promoted inside, and we've had some of our clients that use that principle. I think it's kind of widely known. I don't know that it's widely used, but what we're trying to really focus on is, again, if you start looking at service timing, it can be a lot to digest. So what we want to do is focus on those 20% of the jobs that make up 80% of your technician shop time. So the smaller number of things, but really focus in on those key areas or those challenges that you have on that series of machine. Great question, but we do try to push that and promote that, because where do you start? That's always the question. Yeah.
Thank you. We're going to do one more question here. Does the technical content change dependent upon what document it's used in? That's kind of a neat one.
So if I understand that correctly, so kind of reusing. So let's start with like a service manual, and I think I'm going down the right page here. Being able to have that content, a lot of our clients work in a global, have a global presence. So making sure that the verbiage that's in the service manual can be repurposed into other areas of the support. So getting that nailed down, because translations are extremely expensive. And so if you're reusing and repurposing that verbiage, it's going to help you out, with translation costs, and also get some consistency in your verbiage, throughout your product offering in whatever division you're working in. And it's certainly reuse is very common, and we do try to promote that as well.
Great. Yeah, I would like to just add on to that. I mean, you want consistency in the type of verbiage you use, the type of layout you put out, especially as it relates to a service manual. And then you can take the information, because let's face it, a service manual can be the source data for technical and service training. So, being consistent and keeping that content similar throughout all the areas that it's used in is going to be very important to your end users, to your service technicians, etc. So I guess that's about all the time we're going to use up for you today. We wanted to keep it under a half an hour, because based on our research, that's about a good enough time to keep everybody's interest, and hopefully we didn't make you fall asleep while we're doing this today. So
I can't dance much longer than that.
It's true. Again, all the questions that you submitted, in addition to the ones that we already read off, will be addressed and sent out to all the participants today. And again, as it says there on the screen, go to almoninc.com to learn more about this particular webinar as it's posted. If you have any additional questions, you can reach me at ttyson@almoninc.com. There's more to come. We'll be contacting you all in the near future with the next webinar topic, and we hope to see you soon. Have a nice Thanksgiving, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye now.
Bye.